Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to see you today. Today is Sunday, July 26th, and today's topic that we're going to discuss is levels of consciousness and the levels of consciousness that are different in third and fourth dimensions from the perspective of CosmoEnergy. As you know, we have been having previous CosmoEnergy circles for the last 4 months, and this one is the 14th. And we went from very simple meanings of what is what in different dimensions, and how the absolute energy is creating or manifesting itself in entire creation. And in order to have more understanding, in-depth understanding on what's the meaning of all that, and I would like to represent some very simple concepts, because we are all in the same page of evolutionary development. Some of us are a little bit allowing ourselves to be focused more on this, and some of us are still like, okay, it will anyways happen. Transformation is inevitable. There is no way that caterpillar is not going through the cocoon and not becoming the butterfly. But anyways, I believe that many of you have been thinking about what is my own way to find God, and who am I as a creature, as a creation of God, and how I relate to all the beings that that are present in our universe, that we can see and that we cannot see. And I'm more than happy to support your experience in what is consciousness and what are the levels of consciousness, and all the knowledge that I'm having from the experiences of channeling using CosmoEnergy channels, and just channeling channels, let's put it this way. I am sharing in these circles. So today we are discussing several different meanings that I'm very sure are all familiar to you, and we operate these meanings, and it is very useful to understand what is the definitions, so we can be on the same page when we operate these meanings. And it makes possible to think and go deeper into your own spiritual journey, not to be not to misunderstood the other people who are talking about it with, and also in your own definitions on what is what. But again, the concepts that we will be talking about, they can still remain concepts, because as we're talking about consciousness and densities and dimensions and other beings, we can still know these meanings and definitions, but the main core is being able to use them, meaning to feel them, because otherwise it will be like a book on a shelf that you bought and maybe even read about, but never practiced what is in there. So my hope that you will be able to use this knowledge in your own practice. And CosmoEnergy map of consciousness and the teaching is purposely created for us humans to bring to our life the knowledge of our ancestors, even different civilizations, and the ancestors that have been residing on the earth in the previous ages. I'm not meaning Pisces or Aquarius or any other, but like billions years ago. So let's begin. These days, you will hear a lot of conversations about consciousness and densities, not in the sense of how complex something is, but along the lines of spiritual awakening. And many people are coming into the idea that there is a certain structure of our evolution and as an energy being, right? So that evolutionary structure is founded in what we call density. And I would like to share with you my screen so you can better sense, feel, and know and understand what I'm talking about. It will just take me a couple moments. And so far, I want you to comprehend on what is the density for you. What do you know for now about the density and dimensions? While my screen sharing process is happening, which is of course very cool. And I hope that we are getting more and more. So I want to also tell you that as far as you listening to me speaking about densities, dimensions, and consciousness, I want you to write down your questions and being able to ask the questions at the end of the session. And also I have a YouTube channel that's called Eve Soboleva. And there are plenty of videos that already posted in there about dimensions and different types of consciousness and how CosmoEnergy works and what is Egregores and what is the map of consciousness of our universe. And last time we were talking also about the CosmoEnergy map of consciousness and monad and spirit and how all this works in the entire creation. So I will keep trying to share with you my screen and the presentation. And I think finally it should work out. Yeah, excellent. All right. So today's topic, again, in front of you. And I am switching. Yeah, okay, great. So the first thing that we're going to discuss about is the consciousness. And what is consciousness? Okay, great. What is consciousness? And the simplest way to explain consciousness, if not to go to very in-depth understanding on how one gets into the light of consciousness of the absolute vibration, we can say that the consciousness is the sentience of awareness of internal and external existence. And yeah, so there are three main types of consciousness that we will be operating with, and it is the absolute consciousness. This is the consciousness of the source, the initial point from where all the other beings are developing their lives, the point that is sending its sparks all over to have the experience of existence of self. And the next type of consciousness is universal, and it is about that type of consciousness that performing the manifesting the universe that we are living in and other universes. And it's also very big and very mature, forever existing type of consciousness. And it is different from the absolute in the meaning that it's not the source for like all beings, but the source for existence of certain universes, and we are some of those who live in that kind of universe. And we are ourselves is the type of consciousness that is called individual. And there is something very simple and doesn't need much explanation of what is individual consciousness. It is everything about me, myself, and I. That is very very dense form of, dense form. We're gonna figure out what is density. Very, not really subtle form of the spark of the absolute consciousness that descended into the ends of creation in the universe. Let's put it this way. And so what is dimension? What is dimension? You see on your screens that the dimension, the most simple expression would be that it is a parallel lifetime of reality where your life is playing out. What else we can say about it? It is one of the main issues I often come across when discussing dimensions is the confusion with density. They are not the same, density and dimension can be a special spatial concept, but that's not what we mean here. Dimension should be used to describe a parallel reality. And then a number can be infinite, and it is infinite, in fact, and each consistent thought creates a parallel reality. For instance, right now your life is playing out in an infinite amount of dimensions and parallel realities in the now moment, right here and now, but there is other you in other densities, dimensions. Any possible timeline you could take with your life is happening all in one moment. Each one of those lifetimes could be called dimension. And we will, so for more examples of what is dimension is when you think about somebody or some events in your life and you are kind of projecting your presence into being present somewhere with your thought, that you're creating extra dimension. And you can even, as we are playing VR or some other games, we are certainly in some other dimension, and this dimension look very real. And in some moments we can lose the thread of the reality, this dimension that we are more or less present. And so there is also a knowledge and sensation of that you can fragment your soul. And this is what actually the soul of every creature does. We fragment consciously or unconsciously ourselves and to go through the experience in the different worlds and dimensions. And this is what dimension is. When you're consciously or unconsciously created with your thought. And actually this is the type of experience that we have when we are sleeping. We also have the experience in other dimensions. Your experience is not getting stopped, but simply switches between the dimensions. Okay, what about density? The density. The density is a level of awareness based on the vibrational frequency. And there are 8 densities, which is forming a full octave. And I want to show you another slide real quick. It is the slide from CosmoEnergy Circle number 9. And you can see that in the middle of it, there is so at the outer circle, it is the absolute independent oneness, which is the consciousness, absolute consciousness. And the inner circle, it is the 7th, is the 7th density. And you can imagine yourself that you are being an absolute in the very circle, in the very center of existence, let's put it this way. You have been like a concentric circles, moving the circles of consciousness, of awareness, further and further and farther away, by creating more and more refraction of your own consciousness. And finally, you got to the point where there are octave. You see, there is when we know that octave works in a way that after the 7 notes, in order to go to another cycle, we need to go between T and Do, right? So if we will also imagine that in this circle that you see in front of yourself, that we will have the torus functioning like from the middle of a black hole, the concept of which I tried I hope you understand my effort. I haven't ever been the artist, but you will understand how the universe works and how the all levels of consciousness are interconnected, and how the universal consciousness is interconnected with the very divided and segmented human consciousness and other beings' consciousness that are started anyways from the absolute independent oneness, right? So we were pushing and pushing and pushing as the absolute, the circles, let's put it this way, of consciousness. And by then we were fragmenting. So the source is always very close, even to the most fragmented beings in the all universe. But this is a concept of densities that I wanted to represent to you. And we're going back a little bit to the previous slide. So the level of awareness, which called density, depends on your vibrational level. And on the flip side, the density, it's different unmanifesting teachers, and I confirm and the channel that I contact with, different channels, confirm the information of some teachings that offer that there are 8 densities in which the soul progresses through. At least in our part of creation, there are 8. But again, the densities can be split and divided onto dimensions. So imagine that every being in every density has thoughts or any other expressions of its consciousness, and it creates sub-densities, right? So dimensions, let's say they are level in densities, and in this meaning we can say that the number of levels of development is infinite. And we are currently in the 3rd density, reality, transitioning into 4th. Entering the next density requires a high vibrational rate, and we all know that. So the next question I would like to represent, it is, what is consciousness of a density? All right. Okay. We were talking about the vibration, and what is vibration? What is your vibration? And your vibration is determined by what your primary state of existence is. In other words, your vibration is determined by what you believe and think about all the time, or mostly. Every cell in your body is vibrating at incredibly high, fast rate. If you focus on one part of your body or other part of your body while receiving a CosmoEnergy transmission or other powerful energy work, you should be sometimes even having a meditation. You should be able to feel a subtle tingling or a little buzz. That's your body vibrating. That's all your being is vibrating. On the soul level, your overall energy body is also vibrating. So the frequency to which you resonate is determined by your thoughts and emotions. It's what this whole ascension process from one density to another is about, right? So, and becoming more conscious and more aware raises our vibration. This tunes into whatever density you're in the frequency with. And I would like to talk about the previous stages of human development on the earth. And I want to give you some preview. In the previous stages of development of the earth, people were not endowed with a mind the way we know it is now. That is what it means, that they were not able to create concrete, separate thought forms. Their consciousness and thought forming process was similar to a newborn baby's, completely abstract. So you probably know that the newborn baby can only see the spots of light, and even they cannot see the mother's face, but what they see is and what they perceive is the quality of the energy that coming out of the beings and from the environment, like in colorful spots. And this is all what they perceive, and this is very safe stage for the most of human beings newly born. And so it's a feeling of safety when you don't need to do much, and you're very comfortable and harmoniously taken care of. And those people that were our past ancestors, they were one undivided mind with the planetary nature, the nature of the planet Earth. And there was definitely a certain beauty and harmony in this, but the problem was that development was minimal. At that stage, when the first humans appeared, they were almost light beings. So they are not just been the one organism with the body of the planet, but they were also less dense. So they didn't need to kill animals in order to survive, and they were basically the energy exchange in their bodies was mainly prana. And for this reason, that's why they reached a certain stage of development with the planet. They were one body with the planet. And then the architect, our God of this exact universe, found that the humans need to know the next step of development. And for this reason, the next stage of evolution was the further fragmentation, a refraction of the absolute consciousness into the form of a thinking man, a Homo sapiens. And you remember the legend of exile from paradise as a reflection of this dimensional change, dimensional shift, right? So you remember that Adam and Eve have been in a perfect harmony in the Garden of Eden, and they were having the abundance of everything. And then all of a sudden, there was something that turned them into thinking. And they made a decision. They made a decision that because they were curious, and then they would have a possibility to think. And they have been evicted from the paradise and from the Garden of Eden. And the God, that biblical God, have been really upset and angry to them. But in fact, the Mother Earth, that have been taking care of her kids for billions of years and being one organism with them, still wasn't really upset. But in fact, what we do now with our planet, I guess, it's kind of upset. So at this stage of a human, at this stage when this exile from paradise happened, a human was able to think concretely, that is, to be an independent creator and express his free will. But since all creation is an experiment that takes into account the possibility to express free will by every sentient being that has a spark of consciousness, the outcome of the experiment was unknown. And in fact, it still remains unknown. In fact, this new gift of thinking mind plus free will in 3D led humanity to a certain evolutionary consequences that we all collectively witness now. and maybe not all of us are really happy about it. And the reason is that the tool of the mind was used by us humans with too much intensity. What I mean by that all the other sensations and the intuition at the first place, and also telepathy and telekinesis, it was all forgotten. We were obscured by the mind, and the mind began to be used as almost the only tool of humans expressing their independent selves. And a third dimension, third density, is a stage of evolutionary development of creation, which we are currently experiencing as people of the earth. It is a peak of a manifestation of the impulse of the centrifugal force of the absolute consciousness. We can say that centrifugal force. We can say that we have become and still are witnesses and bearers of a maximum fragmentation of the absolute light of consciousness. And now we are entering a stage in which there is a tangible increase in the vibration of energy, through which the centripetal force is manifested. And this manifests as a reverse process after a set of experiences of fragmentation, since every single spark of light of the absolute consciousness, which we know is the immortal and ever-present nature of our soul, it seeks to be reunited, to be unified again. And automatically and simultaneously, many souls feel an inner calling to reconnect and feel as one with the planetary and universal intelligence. At this point, there is a great clarity that co-creation that is supported by not only logical mind, but also with the intuition is a greater type of communication. And also when we bring to this intuition the trust, then it leads to expansion of opportunities for everyone in wholeness. And I want to also mention the fourth ray. This is what teachers explaining as a ray of the heart chakra. This is also the one of the steps that we need to learn in this age. So heart, open heart, and the sensation of unconditional love, and the feeling of I amness as the unity is all a manifestation of cosmic evolution in human consciousness. And I want to go to the next slide. What will be the next slide? Great. So as you understand, the Earth also goes through this process with us from 3 to 4D, and our Earth is absolutely a sentient being. In fact, everything is, right down to minerals and rocks. Some of humanity will transition with the Earth, and some will do it later. Let's put it this way. And a lot of us feel right now as though we have one foot in the third density and the other foot in the fourth. And there is kind of tension sometimes about it. That's because we are really in this tension, because this is a reality. We need to make a choice. And it's not that easy right now. But some of the things you might experience, such as immediately realizing when you say something negative, right? You're like, yes, it was negative. I need to make it up, or something, like go confess in a good way to a person, not the priest, but maybe to the priest. Or wanting to let go of some of your relationships. When you realize that somebody you have been in relationships forever, maybe that's the friends, maybe that partners, maybe it's even your kids that, and this relationship have become toxic for you, and you realize that you're a martyr here, and that you need to let it go with the less harm as only possible, and it's okay. And it's one of the things that fourth density dimension is giving you as a gift. And you can also feel like you're yo-yoing back and forth with old and new habits. You give up eating meat, or you give up going party hard, or something else, but you kind of coming back to these habits. I don't mean that eating meat is a bad habit, by the way. It's just like, I was giving an example. It could be that you give up some other old habits. And what else? It could be experiencing a sense of friction with your energy. Many people these days are feeling sick all of a sudden. They have a raise of a temperature, or they have sleepless nights, or they have problems of seeing other people, or they have problems with communicating with those communities, or they having problems just looking at themselves in the mirrors and being satisfied. All these frequencies, all these things are indication that you're moving into a fourth density. And I'm not gonna lie, this process can be very brutal and a rough road. It requires you to dig deep in the and really take a look at yourself. Making sustainable changes in life can be really difficult, but incredibly rewarding. To summarize what we just said, I want you to show you the slide that represents the signs of levels of consciousness in dimensions. Okay, here. Okay. So this slide is very, very simple. It doesn't have even a picture, so you can have your own association of what it means. And I'm very sure that most of you do already understand these things, but I will just underline that the key lessons of the soul, which we know as the individual ego, which is a spark of the absolute in second, in 2D, is, first of all, is duality. To know that there is me and others. And the lesson that we need, that we used to learn, us and also the animals, we are both, these two types of creatures used to go and pass by 2D. Some of we know that the animals are mostly in 2D. So it's duality, me and others, the sensation of security. We need to fight for the territory and kill mammoths and so on, and run away from tigers. And animals still do it in a jungle or everywhere where you meet them. So this is also a function of reproduction, which is very simple. You don't need to think much for just have a simple reproduction. And it is the expression of power, like claiming the territory. And it's very familiar for us on the early stages of development. When we are kids, we are stating that most of us have been doing it. This is my home, and this is your home. We're still doing it when being adults. An expression of this is like claiming the territory, because when you think about, as an instance, we have something related to us and to others. When we hear that somebody's car broke, we don't have that much of emotions. When somebody's saying, oh, your car is broken, never will drive again, right? So this is a duality, me and others, reproduction, expression of power, and claiming the territory. The second point that I want to draw your attention is the level of intelligence that is getting added to the 2D. So this is a mind. 2D plus mind will be 3D. It is the definition of recognition that I'm something more than physical self, and that there is not only myself, but also other selves. And it is the expression of the will to explore what is beyond me, What is beyond my house? How other people and how other planets and how other cosmoses exist, right? What is the processes? So all the intelligent processes that we are involved with, this is because we are given the mind, intelligent mind. There is a different definitions of IQ, as you know, but overall it is the intelligent mind. And also what we learn in 3D, it is the expression to will to knowing thyself, right? A little bit like understanding how our body works and how our organs work, etc. Like simple, but anyways, we go to doctors if we don't know exactly what we need, and we go to a psychotherapist as well. And also the other thing that we discover in 3D, it is the responsibility of other selves. We have kids, we have families, we have communities. It is the responsibility. It's not necessarily that we are in 3D that we really want to care about those people or creatures that we are communicating with, but it's like we feel the responsibility. Animals don't feel much in responsibility where there's babies grow up, so they just let it go. But we, as intelligence, and the creatures that have intelligence, we have this feeling of responsibility longer. And the third component, which is leading us from 3D to 4D, is the level of self-awareness. And for those of you who have been on this path for some time, you know that it is the sense of I care, I love, I serve. For some of you, it is already I am love. It is also a sensation of I trust. And finally, I create. And I wrote it down also here, I'm unity and I am, but these are mostly the things that are leading us, that will be through all 4D and that will stay with us for 5, 6, and forever. These are the evolutionary stairs that will, as soon as, the sooner reached, the better. The better. Okay, where we're going, there is actually no words or better, but you got the idea. I want to go back to slides and want to talk to you how to survive through all these dramatic changes in our cosmic vibrations. So, you know, what we learn here is how to help ourselves and others with the approach which is called CosmoEnergy. And you know that CosmoEnergy is a set of channels that allow us to smoothly integrate and heal and to transform our bodies and consciousness. And what also we can do with CosmoEnergy transmissions when we're becoming or receiving the transmission, or we are becoming a master of CosmoEnergy. And I'm teaching this course, and I'm welcoming you to sign up for this course. It will come up soon. So the channels allow us to smoothly integrate the vibrations of a new consciousness and bring it in line with the vibrations of the body in the most organic way. You understand that if you will be plugged in to the faucet and your rate of vibration is normally 24, I'm just making it up, 24, and you plug it into the grid where the it is 240 volts, then you probably will be burned. So that's why I'm talking about the channels, CosmoEnergy channels are divided to planetary, cosmic, and cosmoplanetary energies. And each of the channels allow you to surgically tune into each particular individual consciousness, body and brain with the highest absolute vibration. And this happens in the most harmonious way, because as you remember, the intelligence of cosmic energy channels corresponds to their sources, which are planetary, cosmic, and cosmic planetary. And they are millions of times they're much more intelligent than our human mind. And therefore, cosmic energy sessions and transmissions are very effective, especially at this stage of when we're turning into 3D to 4D. When we have all this frictions, and therefore cosmic energy sessions really been a very great tool to use with the body, with the mind, with the consciousness, and lifting up us painless to the level we can most organically can vibrate with the evolutionary process that we are as humanity going through. And basically this knowledge that cosmic energy is given us has been passed by wisdom keepers through thousands of years to us, so we can use channels in the most challenging times. And it is a technology that have been perfected by our ancestors in previous evolutionary cycles evolutionary cycles on different planets. And the planets who now spread out in the cosmos between 4 and 7D. And those of you who are on a Zoom call now will have the opportunity to experience these powerful transmissions after Q&A. And now we are having a Q&A session, and I want you to write down your questions, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook or at Zoom calls. And after Q&A session, we are going to transmission. For those of you who are on a Zoom call, will experience this transmission. Oh yeah, and you see that we have a Cosmo Energy group on Facebook. It's called Cosmo Energy, and it's very simple to find it. I have a YouTube channel which is called Eve Soboleva, and there's plenty of materials on cosmic energy and everything that is related to consciousness and densities and dimensions and ways of healing our bodies and souls and uniting our spirits. And the next circle will be next Sunday, August 9, and the topic will be human consciousness and other types of consciousness of 4, 5, and 6D. And I'm very grateful for those of you who are giving me feedbacks about what are the other topics will be interesting for you to explore with us on this sessions. Okay. Let me see what we have today as the questions. The question sounds like the sound we hear in meditation are our vibration. I would like to connect with the teacher system right now. And so the quality of the answer will be coming out not from only my intelligence, but the sound that we're hearing in our meditations is the sound where you're consciously setting up your thought process. And the sound that you hear in your meditations is the frequency of your thought. As you will turn off the thought process completely, you will not be able to hear any sound, because there will be untangible for human consciousness, a perception vibration. Therefore, the vibration, the sound that you hear during your meditations is again the sound of your thought. And as you know, the sound of your thought is not necessarily have to be like voice, but it's a certain frequency of and vibration that your binary brains are producing while you're meditating, and also while you're in an active state of consciousness with beta type vibrations. There is also a code that is embedded into your human brains, into our human brains. And they are all frequencies, and meditation is just switching between them. Whether the sound can be more tangible and you can hear it very vividly. It is the sound of vibration. If you attend your attention to some particular object or teacher or teaching or word or frequency consciously. I'm confused about dimensions. On the one hand, there are infinite number of dimensions. So why only discuss up to 4D? I said in the beginning, or the material was given in a way that we have certain number of densities and dimensions. So dimensions are infinite and densities are finite. And when we can imagine the structure of the, imagine the sun that is having the eight circles around it, and the center of the sun, and every single circle will be reflecting the light of the sun in a certain way, and it will depend. So the circles are the densities, dimensions, and the light that have been reflected by densities is the dimensions, and the reflections of the light within the density, the dimensions, is infinite, and it also depends on the beings that are present in this density, and they are themselves are every single creature that has the consciousness is the prism of reflection of the light of consciousness. Therefore, the infinity of dimensions is present. So we cannot go farther than the density one above and one below. These are dimensions. These are kind of boundaries for us, but dimensions are infinite, because the way we reflect light in our density, we reflect light by our using our thought. As soon as we think of something, you create an extra dimension. That's why the number of them are infinite, and why we are talking about 4D is because this is, at this moment, there is a boundary of our conscious understanding where we can think through. So being a being from fifth dimension, the types of thoughts that we have in 3 will be irrelevant for you. You won't have the body you have right now. You won't have the needs that you have right now. You won't have relationships and energy exchange that you have right now. Therefore, it will be irrelevant to talk about any other things and have a similar relations with existence when you are in a different density. But we are talking now about fourth, because this is where we're dwelling into. So we can understand what is possible for us now and here. As we pass through the need of feeding and consciously connecting with the creatures like us, we will be different creatures, and then we will be not talking about third and fourth dimension and also second. The way you've described 2D, 3D, and 4D in the slide sounds like gross to subtle. Yeah, absolutely. We definitely dwelling from gross to subtle, but it's not, if you are talking about the people of a second density, it's not, so the people that were our ancestors, their density was in a different cycle, right? So when we're talking about the gross and subtle, when the people were at the stage of development, when they were one body with the earth, they were much more subtler. And I mentioned that they were prana eaters, and they were not violators. They were not killing animals. They didn't have a separate mind, so they were not directing their soul on anything except the harmony that they were reciting themselves. So in this meaning, it's just the different development stage of the earth that it went through, that it's coming over and over and over again. So yeah, like tattvas in Advaita Vedanta or non-dual Shiva Tantra, correct. So when we don't have a separate mind, but we exist, we have very subtle feeling and sensation of connection and unity with one. Maybe we are not that developed, but we have similar possibilities of the absolute as we are when we are in the middle of it. Next question: is my 4D self same or other density? Is my 4D self same or other density? Is it human? Yes. 4D, I got the question. 4D 4D people exist already, and it is very possible that you are one of them. And the definitions that I was given in the slides of what defines 4D people, and it is, again, I will not share my screen because it may take some time. I guess, yeah, it's an expression of I care, I love, I trust, I serve, I create, I'm unity, and I am. That also, the last two are definitions also of a 5 density. So you stay human, but your values are changing dramatically when you become 4D human. And your polarization is more obvious. And last time we talked about polarization. It means the path that you're choosing, is it fragmentation, further fragmentation, or unity. So the people of 4D have 2 paths, actually one, and this is coming to oneness. And everybody who will decide to keep going through the experience of fragmentation, the further fragmentation in a 3rd density, will stay with this planet, all will be moved to other planet, but they will stay humans. Anyways, they will not go lower than 3D, but we and our planet have a certain future in a 4D. Just depends on time when every single person will really make a choice. And the choice will be not like I'm 100% just like oriented on unity, and I'm not spending any other time except just doing this. In fact, it is true. And I'm also having a time as being a 4-dimensional being, 4D being, as maybe mom or housewife or company leader or somebody else, but the purpose, the entire purpose of me serving is oneness and goodness, and I care for others. Just because this is in nature, and everyone between 3 and 4D is choosing what is the nature and the basic vibration, and based on vibration, and we talked about it, and its emotions and thoughts that you're having is defining what is the choice. You don't need to go and vote, which will be where you will be saying, okay, this is my choice. I prefer to be good and go to 4D, or I prefer to be whatever good I enjoy to be in 3D. That doesn't sound good and tasty to 4D people. No, it will be very simple. The definition of vibration of your thoughts and beliefs are talking for themselves. I guess I answered. Yes, the high vibration, the less. Please define architect. What's the relationship to absolute? I guess these are questions that are related to our previous circle. I'll try to define architect. Last circle we were talking about how the creation began, and we were talking about the spirit, and we were talking about the light of consciousness and awareness, and we were talking about the monad. That is a combination of light of consciousness and awareness. And a light of consciousness is known as a masculine aspect and awareness as a feminine aspect, and one not can be without another, and they are forming, they're nowhere and everywhere. They're spiritual beings, which is spirit, here and here, and everywhere. It's not on the left and not on the right, not above, not beneath. And they are forming, they are both forming the monad, and monad is a carrier of individual spark of the absolute light, which is sending the sparks of the absolute light, which is also spirit, so that we cannot really see them, all over, like a central sun of the galaxy, sending the sparks all over. So the sparks can show up in the creation and bring the experience of being in creation and going through challenges, good and bad. Everything is good for the absolute, and come back and bring the experience back. And this is how the universe works. But the architect is something, some power that we know as God, and this is a God who many religions and systems are praying to. So architect is something that is, let's say, if we will be linear, it is something that is above, beneath this pre-cosmic deviation of awareness and light of consciousness that are forming a monad, that individual monads are given souls a birth, and souls are going to the creation of the architect. An architect is a creator, who is creating the prototypes of all these levels of development, all for the soul. And it is the force that is creating the form. Absolute is a spirit, and architect is a creator of form in our consciousness for us to have the experience. So all visible universe, all tangible objects, spiritual matter, made of spiritual matter of the architect, and its divisions, including archangels that are taking care of a certain parts of the creation. So the architect is that force that are creating a simulation for us to get the experience in order for us to bring it back to the absolute so he can know himself. What's the relationship to absolute, to our of architect and absolute? What's the relationships between? I guess the question was what was the relationship between architect and absolute? We can say that architect is a son, a manifested son of absolute. So metaphysically, the body of a monad then emanates around the body of the monad, and which is being formed by masculine and feminine aspect, which is a lot of consciousness and awareness. Awareness spreads around and manifests the first manifested spirit, which is the architect. So in fact, it is in some way, it is the son of awareness and light of consciousness. This power, this spiritual power, is the architect. How does absolute and other types of consciousness fit into the cosmic energy map? How does it relate to sacred hierarchy of creation in absolute? The same as Atman? How different from Brahman? I would love to answer this question, especially for those of you who saw the map of creation, a map of a hierarchy of creation that have been represented in the previous circles. What is the relationships of absolute consciousness and on cosmic energy map? How does it fit in there? How does it relate to a sacred hierarchy of creation? Is the absolute as Atman, same as Atman? Yeah, we can say that the absolute is Atman, which is the definition from a Vedic philosophy. I was given the last time on the previous circle the view from above. And also I was sharing the perspective that everything that we are looking onto is not somewhere, because when we see it linearly on a paper or on a screen of TV, it is much more difficult to perceive that something is happening beyond your own boundaries. I mean, that it's really happening within you. So I was given the perspective from above, and then from a side, how the cut of the hierarchy of creation looks like. And what we saw from on the paper, it was on the top, it was a lot of consciousness and then self-awareness, and there was a monad and absolute that been formed by these powers. And then there was the creators that are in fact of the architect. So but from above, only what we can see is kind of a core of, let's say, black hole, the potential of the absolute, which is also around it is the monad, because it's infused with the powers of self-awareness, which is offering itself throughout all the creation as a spirit and matter, the same way the awareness being the torsion field for the entire universe is sharing itself with all the creatures that are ready to recognize that they are the creatures and creators at the same time. But at the map of the cosmoenergy of consciousness and hierarchy of creation, you can see it from different perspectives. I'm talking about the same things. And I really, really hope that someday we will see that the Vedantic maps of consciousness are actually very similar to the maps of consciousness of cosmoenergy that I've been shared by unmanifested teachers, and also what my curious mind have defined through the years of teachings and practicing cosmic energy. So yeah, I hope I gave you an answer for this. All right. Thank you so much for your questions, curious minds, and I'm very happy that I was able to give you some information and I received your feedback. Always open for feedback and for more questions and for new topics. And next time I'll see you on the August 9 on Sunday at noon. Please get prepared and make some time in your calendars. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And for those of you who are joining us on Zoom, will receive now a cosmic energy transmission. Okay, dears, thank you so much for being with me and being with yourself. I want you to sit comfortably, drink some water if you have some. And if the place where you're at is good for closing your eyes, I'm welcoming you to close your eyes. Taking a deep breath. And exhaling. Taking another deep breath. And exhale and release all the tensions, all thoughts, all resonances that are not in the divine cosmic presence. Taking another deep breath and relaxing completely on the exhale. Tuning into your inner heart, making sure that your facial muscles and belly muscles are relaxed. Today we will be working with the frequencies that are holding a space for our earth to descend and ascend through times of the changes of frequencies. And the frequencies that we are working today is Archangel Michael. And keeping your attention in your heart. And the second point of attention in your forehead. Just for a moment. Give yourself a permission to receive the presence and understanding that Archangel Michael is standing in front of you. And express the intention to merge with the energy that he spreads around himself. And it is the energy of gratitude and grace. I know that every one of you is going through the rough and extreme events at this moment of this lifetime on the earth. You are the one who bravely have chosen this path just because you have been the most trustworthy and reliable for those who have been sending you to these challenging times on earth. And your bravery does not know the boundaries. And you are the ones on whose shoulders the humanity will be able to bring out the best out of this evolutionary process. You are the one that is able to carry the energy and vibration of ascension in your hearts and pass it to others. So open your hearts right now to all the people and beings who are surrounding you in this circle and who are surrounding you in your circle of life. Right now, is the moment of making a decisions of what you're carrying in your heart. Some of you may think that they already made the decisions, but the decision, as you have a component of time, needs to be made every single nanosecond of your human time. So make a decision right now and right now. And remember that as you carry the knowledge of making a decisions, as you taking and carrying the responsibility in front of yourself and others, you will be asked and demanded for more. You are the carriers of vibration of ascension. The world around depends only on your decisions. And you create the world by your decisions. We are, as your teachers, we are holding your hands and hearts in our hands. And we are bringing your minds to the highest perspective possible for you in order to learn how to create the better future using your thoughts in the present moment. Be conscious about the thoughts towards other beings. Be very cautious about those who try to scare you. Don't trust the levels and sources of information that preaches you the future full of greed and fears and wars. The future that you create is only can be made by your decisions, of your conscious decisions, every single nanosecond. With the gratitude in your heart, with the grace in your mind, welcome the transformational process that is happening already in the field of your planet. Welcome it to enter your being and allow it to resonate with your entire being, and let the mother embrace you again, and let yourself feel a child as you are a child. And you don't need to fight anyone or anything to create a better world for yourself and others. Fight creates fight. Resistance creates resistance. This is not the path of love. Love is only the path of unity. So open your mind. Take your time to connect to the hearts and to the minds of the people you know and the beings you're surrounded with in silence. And know that the choice that you're making is completely yours, and responsibility for it is yours. With so much love, I am Archangel Michael. And for several more minutes, receiving the transmission. Feeling like your own all heart from inside out, flipping over itself, and starting and seeing the strings of connections with the noosphere of the earth, seeing the layers of the earth from above and connections of your own heart with them, and tuning into the frequencies of change, the energy of change that are gradually and graciously reconnecting with your entire being, and allowing the strings of connections to play in a harmonious sounds of the best musical instrument of your soul that you ever heard. And we are adding another channel that is the energy of Jesus, CosmoEnergy Jesus, CosmoEnergy channel Holy Jesus. That is also very aligned with the energy of the earth, with the energy of love. Much softer, softening us from within. And the energies having the quality of reuniting of all hearts. Of myself and other selves as I. In a couple of minutes, just receiving the frequencies of Jesus' love. Not biblical Jesus, but the vibration in cosmos that is having the qualities of love as the teacher. And allowing your heart to be washed and cleaned and bathed in love. I express my intention to be love, to care about love, to give love, to be love, here and now. And taking a deep breath. And allowing the energy of love to anchor and through all our being in the center of the earth to make sure this intention is very solid, very tangible, and rooted in our extension of our body, the earth, or vice versa, we are extension of her body. And allowing all pervading love, awareness to be our satellite when we will open our eyes. And with the next breath in, we can open our eyes. And feel the change in our physical bodies, in our vibration and state of consciousness. And remembering the message of Archangel Michael and confidence of love that was brought with Jesus' energy through cosmic energy transmission that is grounding us to a sensation of unity with the earth and with each other. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you happy, healed, free, loving, thriving, harmonious on August 9th. Namaste.